Hi everyone, my name's Rayanne, and for those of you that haven't met me before, I'll just give you a really quick intro. I'm a speaker, writer, coach, mental health educator, tea drinker and traveller. I'm also director of my own company, Transpiral Training and Development, where we deliver programs around mental health and wellbeing for you to be able to live a flourishing life. Flourishing life is a concept that actually comes from positive psychology, which I'm also formally studying, and I love it because it's essentially science proving what us hippies have always known. And so once we've got measurable outcomes, science is all over it, so it's great for everyone. So there's nothing more fun for me than to sit in a classroom and talk about things like gratitude and kindness and meditation and mindfulness. So it's a wonderful world that we live in at the moment. I'm coming to you from Adelaide on a beautiful sunny Friday afternoon here. Spring's decided to pop out for a day, and then I think it's going away again tomorrow. So I thought I'd come and sit underneath a lovely tree and make a video. And for those of you that haven't seen my videos before, I do them all in one take. I don't have a plan, and it's whatever happens in the moment. And I started doing this about a year and a half ago when I did a video very impromptuly, is that a word? A very impromptu moment from my bed, and it went a little bit viral, and a lot of people said they loved the fact that I was sort of natural and authentic, and that is me. I will never have a video in a studio with makeup or hair. It's just not who I am, and so if I make a video, it's one take. Except for today, I had to do this, this is a second take because my phone ran out of space, so I had to quickly go and delete a whole lot of stuff, and I'm going to talk kind of fast because I've got some really cool stuff out in the last one, and I won't recreate it exactly, but I got to about 8 minutes and then it cut out on me, so I know that's about my limit, maybe a little bit more. Anyway, today I want to talk to you about the concept of self-care, and a lot of people speak to me about self-care. I teach it. I don't always walk it in all areas of my life, and in fact I have been known to say that I'm an expert at outsourcing my self-care, and it's something that I know a lot of us struggle with, and a lot of people have asked me to talk more about. And when I run Mental Health First Aid, and most of us that are instructors do this same thing, we say to our participants on the night of the first day, go home and do something intentional for yourself that is self-care related and you wouldn't normally do. And they really struggle with that. And the next day I often get about a 50% strike rate on a good day of people that actually were able to find something to do for themselves that engaged self-care. So it really is something we need to focus on and spend more time thinking about. And I want to make sure that anything I find out that's good or easy to do or interesting that I share with others. And so I thought this morning perhaps about doing a little series of self-care strategies that we can employ, and I'll break them up into different categories, but the one I want to speak about today is sleep, because it's something that no matter what my self-care regimen is, sleep is always there, as it should be for all of us. But it's one of those things that we don't pay enough attention to, in my mind anyway, and a lot of people wear their need for less sleep is like some kind of badge of honour. So, I only get 3 to 4 hours sleep a night, or I only need 4 hours and I can survive. It's not about surviving, it's about thriving. So basically, there is no prescription to say you need X amount of hours of sleep. But if you've ever had not enough sleep or ever felt sleep deprived, as any of us that have been mothers have, or any of us that have travelled to different time zones or different phases through our life where our sleep comes less easily than others, you can all relate to just how awful it feels when you don't get enough. There's enough, just Google the benefits of sleep and you'll see all the scientific reasons why we need it, so I'm not going to go into that. But essentially it's something that I think is our greatest self-care gift to ourselves, is to focus on getting good quality sleep. So I'm going to share with you some of the things that I've found to be helpful, and hopefully they will help you as well. The first thing I think is really important is to actually establish a nighttime routine. So a lot of people have a morning routine. So we all have something similar in that we get up, we have a shower, we clean our teeth, we eat breakfast. Some people exercise. Some of us are better at that than others, and I'll put myself in the definitely need to do something about that category. meditation, some people journal, some people have, quite set routines for the morning, but not a lot of people have set routines for the evening. And you're winding down for what is probably the most important aspect of your day in terms of future productivity and health and well-being. So this is something that I think we should all focus on. So I'm going to talk about some things that I found helpful and maybe they might help for you too. So the first one is around actually having a reasonably set bedtime. So if you go to bed at around the same time every night, your body eventually adjusts to knowing that this is bedtime and starts preparing and winding itself down to do so. The next one is a biggie, and this is where I think so many people are suffering from sleep deprivation. And it's around avoiding blue light emitting devices for at least 1 to 2 hours before you try to go to sleep. Why is that? So let's go back to our primitive days. When the sun went down, we went to sleep. There wasn't light, so we had no choice. And essentially what happens still in our brain to this day is the pineal gland releases melatonin as a response to a darkened environment. Now, if we don't darken our environment, our melatonin won't be released naturally. And even when we invented candles and fire, we still had, it's a little bit more natural light, it's like an amber spectrum, and we didn't have trouble sleeping. Once we had the incandescent light, still not too bad. But now we have these devices that emit a spectrum of blue light at a frequency that actually prevents our melatonin from being released from the pineal gland. And until melatonin is released, you can't sleep. It just doesn't happen. And so a lot of people find that they're lying awake on their devices wondering why they can't sleep. Well, that's because you're not giving your brain the opportunity to receive the dark messages to release the melatonin. The opposite of melatonin is cortisol. So while you're not producing enough melatonin, you're producing cortisol, which is the hormone that we need during the day in order to function. Once upon a time, it was to survive. And I guess in some senses it is still to survive, but really we want you thriving, not surviving. So turn off those blue light emitting devices. Now, for those of you that say that that's too difficult, there's a couple of things you can do to get around it, and I'd encourage you to do this as a last resort. So I'm a Mac user, I can only speak to Mac, but I certainly know there's options out there for other platforms. But for Mac, on my MacBook, there's an app called Flux, F.LUX. You load it up, it's free. It downloads, or you tell it your time zone, and it knows when the sun sets in your time zone and when the sun rises, and it actually adjusts its spectrum according to the time zone you're in. And as the night goes on, it gets a more and more of an amber kind of hue. Now, it even sends you little reminders like you'll be waking up in 9 hours. So it's like, should you really be on here, is what it's saying in a subtle way. So at least you're not getting that blue light straight in your face. If you're working with people in different time zones, it might be your only option. You can also put the same concept onto your phone. I use one called Night Shift. Well, actually, you don't use one called Night Shift. It's built into the iPhone. You can't get an app anymore. It's called Night Shift, and it's in your brightness settings. And I definitely recommend doing something like that. I've also just picked up a new pair of prescription glasses. You can buy blue light blocking glasses. You can actually just get them from the hardware store. They're bright orange. They look a bit like safety glasses. You can wear them over your normal glasses. But this week I was due to get a new prescription for my reading glasses anyway, and I just picked them up, and they just look like normal glasses. But what they've actually put in there is a blue light blocking filter, and it costs a little bit more. I don't know exactly how much because my private health covered it, but what it means is even when I'm reading a book, I'm using a blue light emitting bed light, but at least the lens will be filtering that out. So do whatever you can to avoid blue light. That's kind of one of the most important things I would suggest. I'm going to quickly touch on some others because I don't want to go over too much longer. Exercise, really important. In terms of cortisol release and winding down for the evening, it's been shown that doing exercise in the morning has a far better impact on your ability to sleep at night, particularly if it's rigorous. So a gentle walk after dinner, of course, is fine, but if you really want to do something that's going to benefit your sleep, they say that a good night's sleep starts from the minute you wake up, and that's about the exercise. That's definitely something I've got to work on. Getting outside in nature, that's a really good mental health strategy anyway, but I'm sitting here with my bare feet touching the ground at the moment because we don't actually ground enough. If you think about the environment that we're in all day, every day, even if we're in the house, we're not touching the earth. When we're outside, we're wearing rubber-soled shoes. We're not connecting with the earth. So think about it from the other spectrum. If you ever go for a really good walk on the beach, or put your feet on the grass, or go for a forest walk, or have a picnic, you feel really good and invigorated afterwards. That's your body kind of soaking up all those beautiful energy centres from the earth. And I know that might sound a bit woo-woo to some people, but it's been proven. And I've actually just started sleeping with an earthing sheet on my bed. It's still early days, and I'll wait for a little while before I decide exactly what impact that's had, because I'm really passionate about connecting with the earth whenever I can, because it's not in our nature to not be connected to the earth all the time. Also, just let me go back to the blue light. I just remembered a couple of other things I want to add. If you do have your phone in your room, I would say don't. Flick it onto airplane mode when you sleep, so that at least you've just got it there for your clock and your alarm, but you're not going to get interrupted by notifications if you have push notifications on. And if you have any other little small lights around, like standby lights, make sure you turn them off, or if you can't, you cover them. Those little lights, moonlight's quite different, but those little lights also work on a spectrum that interferes with our sleep. And Harvard University did a study which I found so fascinating. They did a sleep study, and they put a group of people in completely dark rooms, did a whole lot of sleeping studies on them, and then they got some students, and this is amazing, they got a small tiny piece of fibre optic cable, and they put it behind their knee in an otherwise pitch black room, right, completely dark, and it interrupted with their sleep, because we take in light through our skin, through other areas as well that we're not aware of. This is fairly new stuff that's coming out, but I think it's really interesting because, you know, this blue light stuff is fairly new in our evolution. And my GP and I were chatting about it a few months ago, and she says there's real fears in the health industry that delaying melatonin release every day is actually going to have a massive impact for early onset dementia and dementia in general. So if that's not enough to make you turn your phone off or at least put a filter on, I don't know what is. So anyway, I've said enough about blue light. Exercise, get outside in nature, have a bedtime routine. The other big thing I do before I go to sleep is I brain dump. I brain dump everything I want to do the next day, whether it's in a list form or a diary or something. I get all of my thoughts out on paper, and so that I don't have to lie there awake at night and think, I've got to remember this, I've got to do that, I've got to ring her, I've got to do this. I just do a full brain dump and make sure everything is out before I sleep. Then I pick up my favourite book, whatever it is I'm reading, and I read until I feel the urge to sleep. And they're just a few of the things that I do, and there's lots more that I can share, but I've really gone much longer than I ever have on a video before. And I hope that some of you find this useful, and I wish you a blissful sleep tonight, and I'd love to hear if anybody actually tries any of the things that I suggested. I'll be doing more on self-care when the mood comes to me, and whatever topic I feel. I've got a few in mind, so I think I'll be doing something shortly next, but I'll let you know. All right, have a beautiful day.